Welcome into Higher Living today. Happy Friday, everyone. Kayla, what's up?
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. I'm happy to be back on here with you.
I am too. I'm so grateful. And we've definitely had some challenges getting it coordinated, but thank you for your patience.
Yeah, no, I'd love, this is perfect. This is exactly how it should be. So it's great.
Yeah. So once again, and Kayla's been on before, and I met Kayla through a mutual friend in Colorado,
Hmm.
and you've come on and shared what you kind of got started and what's behind it, but let's just start there. Like, tell us
Yeah.
again kind of how it started, the inspiration. I love the story. It's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. So what I started was a company called The Same Plate, which I guess the simple tagline is curated cultural dinner experiences.
Hmm.
And this really started out of my love for travel.
Hmm.
I am doing this here in Denver now. That's where I founded the business. But I did spend almost 10, maybe 8, 9 years out in Los Angeles working in Hollywood, and it just wasn't for me. I decided after a certain amount of time, that wasn't the career that I was passionate about. So I left and I went to Japan, and I did a 26-country trip around the world between 2016 and 2017.
So awesome.
And it was amazing. It was like the perfect reset button from kind of all the stress of Hollywood, and just so amazing to see all the different, like, there's so many ways to live life. There's
Yeah.
so many cultures and people, and there's so many ways to live life that sometimes we don't see here
Yeah.
because we have every country kind of has their own way of doing things, and sometimes
Hmm.
ours can be restricted to the fence, white picket fence house, and the job
Hmm.
and the kids, and there's nothing wrong with that, and there's lots of other things you can do out there.
Yeah.
So I got back to Denver in 2016, and then 2 years later, I was, missing all of the culture and the people of traveling. So I started bringing friends together through like dinner. I was at an
Hmm.
Indian restaurant when I had this idea. I was like,
Love
I could
Indian food.
travel locally, in a sense, for $20 and 2 hours worth of time, dinner. And it's not the same as going to India, but it's a little taste of a different culture.
Have you
It's a
been to
way.
India?
I have. Yeah, I actually,
I'm dying to go there. I can't wait to go.
I love it. And I am actually not the foremost expert. I have only been to Mumbai for 11 days. When I was in Goa, I got in a motorbike accident and snapped my leg in half. And I did this whole
That
emergency
was in India.
surgery.
That's right.
It was, yeah. So an emergency surgery down in Goa, which is South India, which fortunately is where a lot of doctors in Southeast Asia go to get trained. So
Hmm.
that's great.
Good.
And it was really not fun. Well, actually wouldn't even say it's not fun. It was a unique experience to be in the hospital in India, and I'm fully recovered and it's all good. But yeah, I just, at the beginning of this year, I was like, every month I'm just going to take my friends and we're just going to go to a cultural restaurant, get to know each other, get to know this culture just a little bit. And travel locally. It was really just such a fun, and people loved it. By my third dinner, like 30 people were showing up. People were like, I love this. I would love to travel locally. All I did was kind of remove this barrier when people are like, I don't
Hmm.
know where to go, or whatever. And it was such a small barrier for me to remove just because I'm so passionate about it. And then it's just kind of grown from there. So that's what I started.
So what was and tell us again. I know we talked about it last time, and I love this part of it. But like, what was your passion, your inspiration for starting it?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, for one, I just love food. I
Yeah.
absolutely love eating. I love cooking my own food at home. Like, it's just such a nurturing experience to, really be connected to our food. And also, like, I processed my trip a lot when I got back. I thought a lot
Hmm.
about, what stayed kind of in my head about the trip that I went on. And there's many things, but the first thing I would always do when I got someplace, like when I landed at the airport in Thailand or when I landed at the airport anywhere, the first thing you almost always go do is you go find some food. Like,
Yeah.
you go, I need to eat something, I need some energy to travel. And it's just such a perfect kind of introduction to whatever new culture you're going into. Like, I went from Tokyo to Thailand, and both have very kind of distinct cuisines about them. And one of the
Hmm.
first ways I was like, okay, I'm no longer in Tokyo, I'm here in Thailand now, was I went and had food at a restaurant, and it was, so that's like such a great introduction to a new culture. And when I was doing this, how young 20s, I had no money, I was cheap backpacking. I would always find people in the hostel, and the way we would always get to know each other was just like, hey, want to go get some food before we figure out what we're going to do this morning or tonight or whatever time of day it ended up being. And so I would sit down with people from all over the world, all different countries of Europe, South America, because we'd all found each other in a hostel. We just go eat some food. And it was the perfect way just to get to know people and the culture that we were in and the country that we were in. And I was like, I can't replicate, you can't put Thailand in the United States. Like Thailand is
Sure.
Thailand, but you can give people that experience of connecting to another culture and other people through food with a lot of the communities that we have here in this country. So that's what I'm doing.
I love it. And I love, like, I love that too, because our world right now, we're so polarized and divided, but like food and eating is something everyone does. And what a great way to bring people together. And that's what it's all about.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that you say that, because it is, um, I wouldn't, I don't know if I have a outspoken political agenda with what I'm doing, although there
Mhm.
certainly is something there, but there is definitely, when you really get down to the root of the human experience, I mean, that's my biggest takeaway from my trip. People are like, what's the biggest thing that you learned? And I could tell you like so many
You
fun facts
answered a
about
question I had for
Bulgaria.
you just now.
Yeah, there you go. Here we go. I jumped right
Yeah.
into it. I can tell you all sorts of fun historical facts and beautiful monuments and all that's so valuable. But really what sticks with me is everywhere you go, everyone is living really at fundamentally the same experience. We're all looking to be connected to each other, to support ourselves, have our basic needs met, more than that if we're able. And that's like fundamental across all countries, all languages, all religions, all everything. And the one thing that truly you cannot different, like the type of food is different, but there's not a single human on the planet who isn't going to go eat food and do so with a family at some point.
Yeah.
It's one of the most universal activities ever. You can almost equate it to music. Music is super universal, but it is the most universal understood activity out there. So in a sense, this is almost like a political statement of, I don't care who you are, what you look like, or what you do. We can eat together and we can get
Love
along,
it.
So
We need a lot more of that. We really do.
yeah, we do. Cause I mean, it's actually heartbreaking for me a little bit to watch the narrative that we have about all these other places around the world. And there's a lot of stuff going on in a lot of places. Like there's a
Mhm.
lot of unrest. And of the people, like 99% of people on this planet are loving at heart and they want
Absolutely.
all the same thing that we do,
I agree. I
And
agree so much.
it's,
And I don't watch the news. I really don't. I tuned it out years ago. And life goes on, but so I don't see a lot of the negative, but I do believe in that wholeheartedly. I do believe that everyone is good at heart. I mean, some people don't know how to handle it and haven't cleared their stuff. They may
yeah,
not treat people well, but all in all, I think everyone is loving and
yeah,
has the same goals. Like we all want to be loved. We all want to be accepted for ourselves. We all want to be successful, provided for, and enjoy our lives. I mean, that
yeah,
doesn't matter what language you speak or where you are.
right. And it's like, so if everyone just lived with that understanding, can you imagine the type of world we would live in? Like, can you imagine? It's actually hard to, because we're so far from that. And there's definitely places you can find
I think
this.
it's happening.
Yeah, it definitely is. And it's growing. Like you can sense the growth of this kind of I am you and you are me type of language around things. But a lot of our structures in place are still functioning in a different narrative, so it
Mhm.
just takes time at this very local community level to get people connected to things that they aren't really normal part of their everyday life. So and it's not really a hard ask to ask people to go out for a meal together. We do that
Yeah.
all the time. So
Yeah.
like I might as well kind of support the community, get people connected to a different culture in the process of that. So it's been super, super fun. It's been
So
like,
this started like when did you start this in Denver? Was it a like last January or the end of last year?
yeah, the very first dinner was January 9th,
Okay.
2019. And that was
Mm,
at the
okay.
Ethiopian restaurant in
That's right.
Denver.
I
Yeah.
think we talked. Maybe you had two or three. It wasn't many yet, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'm really anxious. So let's start there. How did that go? How
Yeah.
did you get this going and what's happened?
Yeah, it was so casual to start. I literally went on my Facebook page and I posted, "Hey, I'm doing this thing. I'm going to a cultural restaurant every month. Like, comment here if you would like to come. Here's the details, and I'll look forward to seeing you there." Like, it could not have been more casual. I actually was kind of expecting to just show up there with my boyfriend and like it just be us two,
Yeah,
because people have a million invitations.
sure.
But I think I had like 9 or 10 people show up, and I was like, "Oh, this is so great." It was so much fun. And that was the first dinner. I actually, that also really intrigued me, watching the the restaurant that we were at and how, because we went to a mom and pop restaurant that were I think there was a first generation Ethiopian family and they were amazing. And I just got really interested in the story behind the restaurant as well, which led me
Mhm.
into a whole kind of like blog that I talked about all the people behind these restaurants. And then I just kind of kept going with that. By March, I was actually doing Facebook events so I could count RSVPs, because restaurants kind of like to know when you have a big
Mhm.
group showing up. And then it's kind of grown from there. Just last weekend, I did a, TED. TED is the big
Talks.
technology,
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. TED Talks.
education design. Yeah, TED Talks.
Yeah.
And then X is the regional planned versions of all of
Mhm.
those. So
Mhm.
TEDx Mile High happened here in Denver last weekend. I guess it's the biggest in the country. They sell 5,000 tickets to this
I've
event.
seen a
They
lot of their videos on
Yeah.
YouTube.
Yeah, they do an amazing job. Like, their event producers really have put on like a world-class event. I think someone told me it's like one of the top 10 biggest TEDx regionally planned events in the world.
It's awesome.
So they fly people in, like it's really like quite a respected event. And I did a whole exhibit there kind of about like the food connection and ways you can connect with people over food in Denver. So that was like kind of a pivotal turning point where I went from just having my network of people and people that they know, kind of like two circles,
Mhm.
into really talking to people and engaging people that I never would have come across otherwise. So it really kind of expanded it out into the greater Denver community outside of my bubble,
Love it.
which is, I guess that's 10 months, 11 months after I started the whole thing, which is pretty cool. It's kind of crazy that's been a whole year, and that was kind of like the bookend of the year, right?
Yeah.
Marketing to 5,000 people, and
Yeah.
talking about what I'm doing. And it was really, really fun. Denver's such like a liberal, energetic, like excited place with lots of people who like to do lots of things. So
Mhm.
people were really jazzed about it. It was really fun.
That's so awesome. So how's
Yeah.
the attendance grown since the Ethiopian? And I know you had a couple others, I guess, and share some of the different cultures that
Yeah.
you've.
So we did Ethiopian food, we did Polish food, Middle Eastern food, Peruvian food, Indian food, Korean food. Um, I know I'm missing a couple in there, and I don't want to miss
I
them, but
forgive you.
Peruvian, I don't know if I said Peruvian. Um, and the attendance has been like pretty steady at like 20 to 25 people, uh, which is actually kind of incredible to me. I was not expecting that at first. And
Yeah.
it's all really fun too, because they're people from, I have like my people in different categories of my life that all come together and meet each other that wouldn't otherwise meet each other. So that's super fun. Um, and that's kind of like the next kind of step that I'm wrapping my head around is, analyzing, for lack of a better word, these events. Like, what do people really, what days of the week work for people? What parts of town do people like? And so I started compiling all that information.
I'm sure that's a lot
Um,
to coordinate.
it is, yeah, and this was kind of like kind of that pivot moment for me where it went
Mm.
from, this is just super casual, and actually I want to put this together for people consistently, and I want it to be something that works for people. So I need to have like some data to know
Yeah.
what works for people as opposed to just what works for me in my calendar. So it's been kind of like a learning process to get all that stuff. It's almost like it took off so fast, and now I'm almost turning around and walking backwards to make sure like the building blocks are kind of there.
Sure.
Um, which
It's a
isn't
good
really,
problem to have.
it's really fun. And again, I can't really mess it up, right? Like, at the end of the day, I'm just making dinner, I'm just putting together dinners and cooking classes for people.
Yeah.
Like, it's just fun. So there's not like a lot of stress around it for me, just kind of like, oh, this is a valuable thing to learn, let me go learn that. And then it's just kind of growing from there.
I love how like use your passion, your travel to, to start something that is connecting people. And that's what I think, all of our passions, everybody's like, what is my purpose in life? Blah, blah, blah. I think our purpose is, around helping others in some way and bringing people together in whatever way that can be. But I
Yes.
love what you're doing. I really do.
Yeah, I sometimes tell people that this feels like it kind of brings together everything in my life up to this point into like a little package of like,
Yeah.
this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And it's like a really cool feeling to have that, okay, this is what everything I did has led up to. Because sometimes when you're in the middle of these winding paths of life, you're like, what is even happening? Like,
What's the
what am I
point?
doing? What is the point of
Exactly.
this? Like,
Yeah.
what did I make like the biggest mistake ever? Like, what? Or even things that we think, oh, this is like the best thing I could ever do, and then it falls flat on its face, and you just kind of wonder, like, what is the point of all of this? And this was a point for me where I could look back and really see like a through line for my entire life leading me up to this point, which was really, really cool. And that's why it's also just been not really very stressful, honestly, because I just know this is what I'm meant to be doing in whatever capacity it looks like. It just is just connecting people, encouraging people to be engaged with people who are different from them. That's like what all of my life events and life work has like kind of culminated in. And so it just feels so natural, which is never something I've experienced before in any way of life, which is pretty
Those
cool.
are two things that you just said that, like that it's effort, it seems effortless and natural. I mean, and you're doing something, it's not about you. Like you're truly doing something to bring others together and better others, but having
Yeah.
fun at the same time. And I think that's a great lesson because so many people, when they connect with what they're, calling or what they're supposed to do, even if it changes at that moment, when you connect with passion, do you find, there's less effort? I mean, compare it to Hollywood. What were you doing in Hollywood?
I was working at a talent agency. So
Okay.
like people, big A-list producers, actors, writers, they have, agents that do their business
Yeah.
deals for them. So
Yeah.
I was working at a talent agency for a television agent, kind of doing all the assistanting to an agent who does all the business deals. So I
Yeah.
learned a lot about the business side of Hollywood, and it really did give me talk about things that don't seem related. There were a lot of skills I got from that job that serve me now,
Yeah.
but this is a very different kind of world to be in that it is focused outside of myself,
Hmm.
as opposed to not all of Hollywood is like,
Hmm.
I can't like put all of
No.
Hollywood in a
Yeah.
bubble,
Yeah.
but it can be. I don't think many people would disagree that it could be a very egocentric industry, and and the whole point of this is it got me outside of myself, into the communities and into conversation with other people, and that's what makes it so valuable,
So much less effort required
Yeah.
in what you're doing now than what you were doing, correct?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like so much less. Like I spend so much more time kind of working on this, but it's effortless, if that makes sense. Like
it
I put a
does.
lot of hours and a lot of thought into this, but it never feels like I'm just trying to break down these huge walls that I can't get
Hmm.
past. Like it just feels kind of smooth,
Going
and
with the
it's,
flow a little bit more,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. And
Yeah,
I'm not naive enough to know that there aren't going to be challenges, because running a business
absolutely.
has challenges. But just knowing how true the vision is for me makes all challenges ultimately seem a little bit smaller. It's like, well,
Yeah.
this is what I'm creating. Does it align with that? Yes or no? Go with that.
And I love
So,
people taking the chance and following their passion and fulfillment. Like speak to fulfillment. Like, how is this fulfilling versus past jobs? What kind of feedback have you? I'm sure you've gotten amazing feedback from people.
yeah, people, I mean, it's kind of funny. I get a lot of feedback from people that are like, this is, how did I not think of something like this? Because it's
There you go.
not like it's anything it's not like I invented the iPhone out of nothing, like
Yeah.
Steve Jobs. It's not a concept that couldn't be formulated by a lot of people. So that's like kind of cool feedback that it just like resonates with so many people. Um, and it's just, I think the fulfillment I really feel the most is when I plan these dinners and I get to go, and I will just like sit in a corner and watch people talk to each other and get to know each other and text me later and say they had such a great time
It's
getting to
awesome.
know XYZ person. And just knowing that I got to facilitate a friendship that might not have otherwise been there. Or, the restaurants come and say, this was just so heartwarming to see so many people here enjoying our culture. Like that's so fulfilling to me. I'm like,
That's
yeah, that's what
awesome.
I want to do. Like I want to introduce people to things they haven't been introduced to before, and I've done a lot of thinking about, kind of the ego involved in all of this stuff, because back to the point of, it's not a novel concept by any stretch of the imagination. Anyone could make a reservation really at a
Hmm.
Ethiopian restaurant. And so I've actually put together kind of more curated events that are
Hmm.
not just a reservation. They have a little bit more involved, but that's where like the personal experience of every human doing whatever they're doing is so valuable. Like you yourself, there's lots of podcasts out there, right?
Hmm.
But no one else doing a podcast has your experience. That's having you talk to the people the way that you talk to people.
You're
Like
right.
there's a lot of people that could go to a Thai restaurant, but they don't have necessarily the world travel experience or the whatever like little pieces of things fell into my or I guess got like etched onto my story totem pole of life that have me create exactly what I've created, you know? So in some ways, the person behind it, it is all about them.
Yeah.
And simultaneously, it's not about them at all. And that's what I've come to realize. It's like a front of the hand, back of the hand. Like this whole thing exists because of who I am in my life experience. And it's not about me. It's about
Yeah.
everyone I get to impact because of that, you know? So like kind of that like dual way of thinking about it is, I don't know. For me, I enjoy it because I like to think about things.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah,
I love that you're able to like kind of sit in the corner and watch, and you never know. I mean, I'm a big believer that there's no accidents. People connect, but like you don't even know these people that you're bringing together. Like God knows what can happen between some of these chance meetings.
totally. It's, oh, I
And you're
love thinking
giving
about
back
that.
to these communities, and I'm sure that these people that are immigrants or whatever, like they're sharing their culture, and it's not mainstream, like not
Right,
everybody going on the streets like, oh, I need something Ethiopian or whatever. So
right.
I'm sure they really appreciate what you're bringing to them.
Yeah, they're like, wow, like I could almost have to sometimes like push the pause button. Like, look, I can't bring in a group every week. Like, I don't have the capacity for that. But yeah, they absolutely love it, and I love that they love it. You know, it's
Yeah.
just a matter of managing expectations. But they do. They love the patronage. All of these cultures that I've come in communication with are really eager to share it with people.
Hmm.
They really, really are. And so, what I'm trying to do is open up people's willingness to hear it. Not because people are against it per se, but it's just not how we've like been trained, you know, to engage with our communities.
We get
We
stuck
kind
in
of
our own little boxes
exactly.
and our routines, and yeah,
Yeah.
it's not as much closed minded. It's just like closed off, I guess, in a way.
Yeah. Yeah. Just because, you know, what's people, we thrive in comfort as humans. Like we want to do what's comfortable.
Yeah.
And the kind of ironic thing about that is the most joy people ever feel is when they're doing something that makes them uncomfortable and coming out on the other side of that, you know? So that's like another thing to me about life is like, we all try so hard to stay in our comfortable little bubble, but everyone's had like that glimmer
You got
of,
to get
I
out.
have no idea what's happening. And you get
You
on the
got
other
to get
side and
out.
you're like, oh, there's so much life to be lived out there. You just have to kind of push yourself. And I do get like some people don't have the resources to go do a year-round trip around the world. So that's totally valid. I actually hardly had the resources to do it myself. But you can still get people engaged in things
But
outside of
you're
themselves.
kind of giving part of that experience to people
Right. Like
on a
just look
different
right in your own
scale.
backyard. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so it's really, really fulfilling, and it feels like, you know, this is what I was meant to do. And I don't know exactly what it's going to turn into. That's
What's
kind
your
of part of the fun
vision?
part.
What's your vision for it?
I would love to kind of really get it super well established in Denver.
Hmm.
Um, really, really well established in Denver, and then ultimately kind of expand to different cities in the United States to
Hmm.
start. Um, and like right now, my vision is that this could be something that happens any place literally in the world. You know, every single country has immigrants from someplace. You know,
Yeah.
if you go to Europe, they have people from all over the place. If you go to India, they have immigrants from Pakistan. Like every country has immigrants, and
Hmm.
every country has a narrative about how someone else shouldn't be there. Like in
Hmm.
Costa Rica, I know there was like, I heard a thing about people from Nicaragua, like how dare
Hmm.
they, you know? It's just like a thing that countries do where it's like they get very protective. um and so every single country has the opportunity to explore another culture that's not their native one through food. It's universal. I know, like when
Everybody's
I was
eating.
in, yeah, everyone's eating. When I was in London, there's a very large population from India there, so like
Hmm.
there's an opportunity to, you know, so I would love to be able to kind of create this around the world, not with a political intention, but with
Hmm.
like the intention of getting people on the other side of their biases that they might not even know that they have
Yeah.
about people, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
So I think that would be great. I would love
And
to
yeah,
do.
and the media and everything tries to keep us polarized. I mean, I'm not like slamming everything, but that's why I don't tune into a lot of it. We're just so focused on how we're different,
Yeah,
different
and I
color,
love
different this,
that.
that. No, no, we're all the same. And I love that, like what you're doing, because we all eat. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
we all, every
And how
country has
much can we learn from other people and their culture?
right, right, and it's, oh, there's just, it's such an untapped way to engage with people, which is crazy because we all eat all the time. But you know, there's, I think there's a lot of not significance, but like food can be a very like spiritual experience,
It
really.
can.
If you start to look down at, like, it nourishes us, it comes from the earth that gives us life, like it there's
Yeah.
actually a lot of symbolism to food that we haven't even gotten into, and the way it can connect people. And I think we're still, as humans, really starting to get back to our roots as it relates to food. A lot of our mass production practices have removed us from what food really means for us as humans. Like, if all the food went away tomorrow, we wouldn't be here long as a species. Like,
Yeah.
we would be dead,
Yeah.
if
And
and
even that
so
process, like I've learned to like appreciate even more. Like it really is manifesting. Like we take something foreign, put it in our body, turn it into nutrients that we need. Like
yeah.
it's pretty damn cool if you think about it.
It's
You know?
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we take that shit for granted, but like that's what we do every time.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's very few like really connected, like, weddings. You never go to a wedding without food.
Yeah.
First dates rarely happen without food.
Yeah.
All the things that really bring us together in community over things that are important to us have food involved with them. Like, you can take so many different tangents of food and how we relate to it,
Mhm.
and create a significance around it. Not a significance in the sense that it's like bad or wrong, but it's important to us. And just kind of highlighting that in a way that gets people connected to each other is a no-brainer for me at this
Yeah.
point, now that I've kind of started doing this.
I love
So
it. So
yeah.
what's your feedback been since TED? I know that was what, last weekend?
Yeah, so that was like coming up on 7 days ago.
Hmm.
um and so I mean, I talked to, I don't know, maybe 500 people there,
Wow.
and out of 5,000 that went, there's no way if I could talk to
Can't get
5,000, I would have loved
everybody.
to, but yeah.
Yeah. The
I
right people
talked
show
to
up.
Exactly. I talked to probably 500, and I had people ask me if I was hiring. I had people say I'm signing up like today. So I actually need to go look at how many tickets have been bought. But it was kind of the same sort of thing. I don't know how I didn't think of this, and why would I not want to be involved with this?
Yeah.
So I'm excited to start branching out into different parts of the Denver community that I wouldn't have had access to otherwise, just
Hmm.
because our circles only grow so big, and just see what comes of that and what ideas can come from these different like people and places that I haven't thought of yet. So I'm kind of just in the um, incubating phase, like what
Hmm.
now is going to show up as kind of the next way to give people value in this way.
So is that how you're doing it now? So people can like go sign up and buy a ticket. So
Yeah.
that way you can control the numbers and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so I was doing it with just like a RSVP on a Facebook event, and that
Hmm.
worked mostly. But the thing about Facebook events is it's very kind of nebulous. Like,
Yeah.
last minute a bunch of people can't come, or last minute a bunch of people can come, which I kind of like the spontaneity. And for planning with restaurants, that's really hard. If
Yeah.
I'm like, I need a table for this many people, and then a lot less or a
They
lot more
tie
show up.
up. Yeah. They
Yeah.
tie up a bunch of tables and miss
Yeah.
out on revenue. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And it just gets really kind of complicated. So I've started doing, tickets that are basically the cost of dinner plus maybe $2 or $3 for the additional elements that I've been incorporating.
That's awesome.
So people just buy a ticket, they come, their food's taken care of. It's a whole kind of curated cultural experience, and that's it. And then I have like an RSVP count. I can work with the restaurants, know exactly how much food to make and have it be prepared, just because it's really important to me to have valuable restaurant relationships as well,
Hmm.
not to make it be a stressful experience when I bring people in, but one that's like really works and fuses really well
Flow.
together.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's the new way I'm doing it, which is also a learning process. How much are people willing to pay? Do
Hmm.
people, this is all kind of part of the process. There's a
Evolution.
lot of psychology, I think, around people paying for stuff ahead of time and events, which I'm still kind of reading and getting into. But for me, this is just fun, and there's a lot to learn, and it's all perfect. I have no expectation right now. It's just
Well, I love what you're doing.
fun.
I
Yeah.
really do. I
Yeah.
do. And then like, it's so glad, I'm so glad you came back. Thank you. Because yeah, it was exciting when you were starting it. And I can't believe that it's progressed this much in 6 months or whatever it is.
I know, it's kind of crazy. It's been a time warp.
What's your advice to someone, maybe anyone listening that maybe has an idea, but like you've taken a chance. You've gone
Yeah.
for something that you're passionate about. And a lot of people have great ideas, but they're afraid or they think of all the what might go wrong. What's your advice to someone that might have, so, like you said, your idea is, but it's amazing and it's yours, and it will
Right.
resonate with the right people.
Right.
And yeah, sure, someone can do. It's not about that. It's not about competing. Like you're making a difference. So
Right.
what's your advice to someone that might be sitting out there with an idea?
I would say the first one would be around the idea of like taking action. I think I read a quote one time that the difference between like a regular person and an entrepreneur is an entrepreneur actually did something, because like every human ever like has an idea at some point. There's just not everyone that goes and acts on it. And there can be a lot of fear around, oh, am I doing it right? Am I doing it wrong? At the end of the day, no matter what, things in your life are going to go right and wrong. Like
Mm,
no matter, you're going to wake up every day, maybe your tire's flat and that's wrong. If you're good, for me, being alive is seeing if something's right and wrong inside of something that I'm creating. Like there's
yeah.
a lot of things out in the world that are coming at you. So what are you doing to create your own world, And at the end of the day, something doesn't go well, then you just take the next action to
Mm,
course correct. That's all we're doing anyways in life. That's all we're doing anyways. We walk out our front door and we course correct, or we do this depending on what comes at us.
mm-hmm.
Like you already do that every day. So just go
Yeah.
take an action. It works, you keep going. It doesn't work, you step a different direction. Like
Yeah.
that's all there is to it. Thinking about overthinking it is like the biggest pitfall, I think, because you can really easily talk yourself out of anything, like
I think
really easily.
overthinking and putting it off for the perfect time,
Right.
perfect
There's no such thing as a
situation,
perfect
and
time. Yeah.
exactly, and like we some people think it, and I struggle with this for a while with all or none, like job versus calling, passion. Well, you know what, like just as long as you, like you said, take action, and it's what we're doing here, recording this, like take
Right.
action, do something, start somewhere, and see
Yeah.
what happens.
There's
Take that
nothing really
chance.
that bad that's going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah,
And my
you
only
can
other second,
fail, big
it
deal.
totally,
Yeah,
it's actually great to
and
fail.
failure's good. It is.
Yeah. It's actually great because you're like,
Yeah,
oh, well, that was a great learning experience. What comes next?
yeah.
And my only other second piece of advice would be, kind of related to that front of the hand, back of the hand comment I made earlier, is like know who you are inside of what you're creating, because
I like that.
ultimately there's no such thing as a new idea. Like there's like, I forget the podcast I was listening to about.
Everything's stolen. Everything's
Yeah.
stolen. It
Everything is
is.
coming from like, I think there's like
Everything's
7 streams
plagiarized,
or
whatever.
something.
It is. It
Yeah.
is.
And the only thing that makes it unique is you. Like
Yeah.
the only thing that makes my thing unique is me.
Hmm.
Anyone can go eat at these restaurants,
Sure.
but I have a certain experience and a certain way of connecting with people that no one else has.
And a
And every
passion.
single, yeah, and every single person on the planet has that same thing for whatever their thing is. So like, don't just know who you are inside of what you're creating, and like, don't lose sight of that, because you are it.
And I'd add to that too. Like if you feel that pull, like you got to do it.
Yeah.
You have to try. You have to try. Nobody's going to come to your door. Imagine you
Right.
wanted to do this and
Right.
you're waiting for someone to knock on your door and say, "Hey, could you coordinate, meals at different?" No, it doesn't
Right.
work that way. Like just
No.
try.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. No one's coming and asking you to go create your
For
own
your
life.
you're not going to find
Yeah.
your calling on LinkedIn.
No, you're not. No one's
Exactly.
gonna come say, "Hey, I really love for you to step outside today and go make and live a life you love." Like that's
Yeah.
not gonna happen. You
Yeah.
gotta. Maybe there's some people that will start doing that. Like once we get to a different part of level of humanity, that will
No,
start happening, and it is starting to happen.
it is
But
happening.
generally, yeah, generally, like your life is yours, and like go do something with it. You
No
know?
regrets. Yeah. Like
Yeah,
regrets are powerful. That book, I've done videos on it, like the top 5 regrets of the dying. Like we have to live our lives. We have
yeah,
to.
yeah.
Not at some future date, because the tomorrow is going to be another now. All
Yep.
we have is
That's
one.
the biggest fallacy as humans that we believe, in my opinion, is that there's such thing as tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because we
There's
we have
not.
lived a lot of tomorrows. Like I woke up today, which was yesterday and tomorrow. I get that.
Exactly.
But there actually is no tomorrow.
There's
Because when
not.
you start saying, "Oh, I'll do it in 2 days,"
Hmm.
then you're basically saying, "I'm never going to do that."
Yeah.
It's just how it goes,
Excuses. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, cool, if you want to just take one tiny step. Just
Yeah.
whatever it is might be, just learn something new about what you want to do. That's taking a step, right?
Yep.
That's all you can do. So,
I love it. I'm
yeah.
so happy. Thank you so much for coming on,
Yeah, thanks for having me again. This was so fun.
and come back. I want to hear what's going on with it. Keep
Yeah,
keep me
please. And
posted.
maybe 6 months I'll have some more developments
Yeah.
and I'll come back and chat with you again.
Awesome. Thank you so much. You got a big weekend plan or taking it? You got some
Yeah,
stuff.
no, I'm heading out to Phoenix for
That's
some
right.
like professional development training.
Good.
So that'll
Good
be
for you.
great. Yeah, it'll be sunny and a little
A
warmer than
little
everybody
warmer
is
than
here.
where you are.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
Thanks, Kayla.
thanks, Lance. Yes, have a wonderful rest of your afternoon.
Yeah, you too.
Okay,
Take care.
bye.
Thanks, everybody.